Good time to take a look at the start list, the Fuso grid for race 3. Of course, how they finished the second race. There's Tander and Whincup going at it again from the front row. Row 2. Again and again and again for Ingle and Murphy. Row 3 is Stephen and Jason Richards. Stephen for Castrol FPR Falcon, Jason for Tasman Motorsport. Row 4 belongs to Jason Bargwanna from WPS Racing and Mark Scaife. Both of those guys did a terrific job in the second race.
Cam McConville, good recovery from a difficult start to the weekend. Position number 10, Max Wilson shadowing his teammate Jason Bargwanna, doing very well. Shane Van Gisbergen, first run at the Gold Coast for the Team Kiwi Ford alongside John Bowe in the Glenford's entry. Dean Canto and Steve Johnson. I'm also hearing that there are reports that car number 20, Paul Dumbrell's car, has been in strife again. Rick Kelly had a momentary throttle stick on the approach to turn number 8. James Courtney was pinged for speeding through the pit lane in race number 2, so that's the reason he's down the order. And Mark Winterbottom also had to come in due to loose bodywork, so we'll have a look and see whether there is some more fluid around the racetrack. Remember, that happened in race number 2 when Paul Dumbrell had a problem with that car, and there are people talking about it at the moment.
Down the rear of the grid, Owen Kelly and Craig Lowndes, who was well and truly in the picture until he ended up in pit lane, which is where we understand Paul Morris will start this race from. And also being told that Alan Gurr in car number 26 will start from pit lane as well.
27 races complete in our championship for 2007. 10 to run.
Thank you.
240 points on offer from this point, and Jamie Whincup's got the lead of the championship thus far with 501 points, 19 points clear of Garth Tander. The weekend's played nicely for those two. For Rick Kelly and for Craig Lowndes, it's been a much more difficult weekend.
Well, interesting strategy for Owen Kelly from the Sirame Wines team. They've decided that they'll start him from pit straight. They just want to try and preserve the car, not take any risk with Bahrain just down the road a little bit further. And Paul Dumbrell, that car being pushed back into the garage at the moment. That oil leak from race 2 is back again, so it doesn't look good for Paul Dumbrell.
Well, you can't go anywhere on the Gold Coast without seeing the mark of Craig Gore, the Queensland businessman who's invested very heavily in Australian motorsport, particularly with Will Power on the Champ Car race and, of course, the WPS WOW V8 Supercars. Well, they may have lucked out with Will Power, but I tell you what, the rest of the team has lifted. Jason Bargwanna, his best sprint performance so far of the year, in 7th position, and Max just a couple of positions behind. The team has made some subtle improvements to the car and looking to bring this one home, even though, unfortunately, Will didn't.
Ford Performance Racing, I tell you, you've got to love their positive attitude. The glass is always half full. The weekend again has been a torrid time with car 5, but car 6, Stephen Richards, the team, absolutely stoked with his last race, coming from the rear of the field through to finish 5th, looking good for race 3.
The thing about Jason Bargwanna, as we cycle through the onboard cameras that we carry in this race, he's had a couple of great runs here in years gone by. He really likes this racetrack, and he's taken home a couple of surfboards for his trouble with round wins here, which is what the winners have traditionally received.
Rick Kelly only has 11 points next to his name for the 2 races. And as Neil mentioned, there's been a bit of a change around in the championship picture after the 2. Jamie Whincup leads in 5:01. Garth Tander now up to 2nd with 482. Lowndes in 3rd and 462. And Rick Kelly is now 4th, 454 points.
Incidentally, the wild suits that both Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes are wearing are going to be used to raise important monies for charity. In this particular case, the charity is UNICEF, and Vodafone are going to put those up on eBay after the weekend, and both Jamie's and Craig's race suits will be available for the highest bidders, and those funds are going to go to the charity. That's the reason why the boys are wearing the slightly unusual looking race suits.
You mentioned Jason Bargwanna, and Grant also touched on his teammate Max Wilson. The important thing there is that it's been an upward curve, which is not an easy thing to do in any of the sprint rounds. Bargs qualified 18th, made up 4 spaces in race 1, and turned a 14th into 7th for race 2. For Max Wilson, he qualified 20th. So So the Friday wasn't too kind to them, but Saturday and Sunday has been. Qualified 20th, Nax. It's gone up to 13th and 9th in race 2. So the arrow's pointing in the right direction.
No wheel spin from this point, the final turn, turn 12. They have to just amble up to the line because of safety intervention vehicles on the road there and other marshals on the road. It's a safety requirement that the drivers observe that. They've got 95 odd litres of fuel on, about 70 odd kilos. Pretty cold brakes, reasonably cold tyres, and they've got to try and negotiate this 4.5 kilometre opening lap without biting concrete. It's not as easy as it sounds.
There's the other 2 cars. So it's Owen Kelly in pit lane. Along with Alan Gurr. The start that Tander had in race 2 was quite amazing.
It was amazing. I mean, the thing just ripped away, didn't it? We didn't see any wheel spin. He just got bite and away he went. Timed it perfectly, matching throttle percentage and clutch drop or slip at the right time. And look at the way that Garth's got the car angled.
Look at Ingle behind him. Russell Ingle behind him also has his direction clearly mapped out. This is Paul Dumbrell's super cheap auto car. So Russell's gone as far over to the right-hand side. His grid starting position as he can. That's one to watch. That's the view from Stephen Richards' car. Here comes the rumble again. Tander fires off again. Ingle's got a good one again. And Tander has to go defensive because Jamie Whincup outfoxed the lot of them. The Team Vodafone Triple Eight car takes it down to turn 1. Tander slots into second, 2 wide. They avoid some trouble. James Courtney got into some push and shove.
Great start, Jamie Whincup. He had to get good track position at some stage this weekend earlier in the race, and it looks like now race number 3 is the one where he can get it done. Down to turn 3 with a little margin over Tander. Have they survived the first few corners without too much drama? So far, so good. It looked a bit spooky back in the pack. We saw Winterbottom understeering wide through one of the chicanes. Tander probing, margin then back to Ingle, and very close. Stephen Richards making a move up the inside into 5, and he got the job done, but almost run out of space on the way, passing Jason Richards. It was a bit messy. He'll be challenged again when they get up towards turn 7, I imagine.
He almost found himself going straight into that little tyre barrier.
So he hung on, but he had to pick up a bit of dirt through turn 6 to be able to do it.
2 Jim Beam cars are together.
Courtney up the inside at turn 8, gets it done. And Murphy really sweating on the back of Ingle, and hasn't that been a delightful battle all weekend? Tander closing a little now on to Whincup at the final turn. One lap down.
Nice start. Now smooth and consistent, mate.
Voice of Mark Dutton, his race engineer. The margin back to Russell. Standing lap time 1 minute 57.9, just 0.2 of a second back to Garth, and then 1.1 seconds to Russell.
This is the order after lap 1 as they come through turns 2. We'll see Todd Kelly on the Zinger replay getting wide at turn 4, and the victim is Owen Kelly. Team Sirame car.
Not sure, it might be Paul Morris. Can't pick up the number too cleanly there. I think that would have been more likely to have been Paul, because Owen was starting at the back of the pack.
That's Richards, so he got a little tyre barrier just on the left-hand side. Almost went straight over the top of it.
Yeah, that was in that little stash that he was having in the previous lap with Jason Richards. And look, Murphy having a think, really squeezing that brake pedal in underneath. Russell Ingle through 5 and 6. These two having a ripper battle this weekend. And Stephen Richards is getting into it there as well. He's gaining on them. They're easing away just ever so slightly from Jason Richards at the moment. Fastest sector split for Stephen Richards to the first one, which is the exit point at turn 4, 49.88 for Stephen Richards. Oh, lock up for Murphy. And the danger there is he could end up drilling the boot lid of the Caltex car.
As for Todd Kelly, you saw the contact there. He did ask the team to come out to the wall as he passed the start-finish straight just to have a look at the left-hand side, but there's been no response since. He's happy with the car. Nothing fundamentally bent.
Stephen Richards, very fast split to the second sector, a 1:23.7. Will get a flying lap time on them this time as the boys work their way out of the final turn. 1:51.6 for Jamie Whincup, and it's 0.35 back to Garth Tander, and 2.1 seconds now back to Russell Ingall. James Courtney's up to 11th, John Bowers 12th. Cameron Conville continues to run well, he's up in 9th. And incidentally, Rick Kelly's in 17th at the moment, Craig Lowndes is 19th, so our championship contenders are working away on the job.
4 out of the top 6 guys there that posted 151s. The only 2 that didn't, Ingall and Murphy.
Just confirming it was, oh, someone's got a, it sounded like a flat spot. Maybe was that a tyre flapping? And that's the debris flag being shown. It is confirmed that it was Paul Morris that we saw down there on the back up on the side of the wall. And so he's just limping his way back to the pit lane at the moment, being other drivers being warned about his presence on the circuit with that car.
Another good sector time from Whincup. Pretty interesting start. Tander's looked fine. I was keeping my eye also on Ingall because his starts have been fantastic. By the time they had finished a little bit of a drag down the front straight towards turn 1, Whincup had outdone them all.
Look at Stephen Richards here trying to figure a way past Greg Murphy. That's an extra complication for Murphy, who's been...
Doing a great job.
He's really only had to worry about Russell, but now with Stephen in behind him, that's another consideration. 1:51.19 for Jamie Whincup, fastest lap of the race.
Red v Blue leaderboard has Jamie Whincup with a 0.3 second margin over Tander.
It's like a NASCAR freight train. We've seen some awesome shots of these guys. They're nose to tail, and everybody is absolutely ringing these things. They are so close, and the pressure's on at the moment.
So it's Ingall, Murphy, Stephen and Jason Richards, and now Scapes join the queue.
Fantastic battle between the concrete. A little bit of a margin then back to Jason Bargwanna, Cam McConville and Max Wilson. That's your top 10. Just outside, it's John Bow. 1:50.75 for Jamie Whincup, 0.4 of a second the gap now. And it's 4 seconds back to Russell Ingall. And this little group here are absolutely flat to the boards, busy with each other.
Some of the most experienced drivers in the championship.
It's a vastly experienced pack, this one. They know the highs and lows of V8 supercar racing and how to get the most out of these cars at a racetrack like this. There's the margin between the 2 leading guys, and here's this scrap for what's really 3rd place, but it's got 4 drivers in the squeeze. Each of them with strengths and weaknesses in various spots. It's so difficult to commit to places like this up at turn 7 when there's a car or two in front of you, half distracting you, difficult to pick your brake point. Isn't that a great shot? And the westerly sun there makes it very tricky up to turn 9 and also on the final run to turns 11 and 12. And that'll get worse, of course.
Oh, there's some contact in the back. Todd Kelly gets T-boned in the end by John Bowe, but that was just the finish of it. That's down at turn 9.
The passenger door looks a bit second-hand there. Massive damage. In fact, that'll be...
Mate, she's done. Straight back yourself.
Sure what triggered all that.
Garth Tander's just done the fastest lap, 150.40. 7/100ths of a second only quicker than Jamie Whincup. The gap at the front between 1 and 2 is 0.3.
And there might be a safety car, so they're possibly contemplating bringing Murphy in. He wants to stay out if Russell peels off. He wants to play cat and mouse, but if there's a safety car, it could change everything here strategically.
A lot of activity, Neil, up and down pit lane, and you're right, Tasman Motorsport have got the tyres out for 51 as Shane Van Gisbergen comes smoking it. It's like a Hulk of a thing, unbelievable. Tasman Motorsport, sorry Neil, they've increased the tyre pressures for the rears on the Tasman's car.
All change here because Ingall's been barrelled out of the way by 3 of them now. And Murphy's got a run on. Richards has gone by. What happened to Russell? Why did he lose so much ground all of a sudden? The safety car, I think, is going to be deployed based by the chatter at race control. Fastest sector split for Jamie Whincup.
Yes, mate, in this lap, hit this lap.
And the compulsory pit stop window is open. Some will choose to stay out, some will dive in.
In this lap, in this lap. Yes.
And Murphy confirming he'll be in. Remember, single boom rules for teams means that you can't bring both your cars in together without one of them being burnt. Okay, 2 leaders are in. Whincup and Tander, that's logical.
Leave it in the up position. Leave it in the up position, please, mate.
And Garth got a little gain at the pit lane entry, which is again typical.
Clear, where you go for lane?
Super quick. Oh, no contact, there was.
And that'll be a penalty. That'll be a penalty for Tander. So it was another one of those go-wait scenarios for those guys. Oh, that's a real bad break for the Toll HSV dealer team. That'll be a penalty for car number 16.
Absolutely frantic down here at the moment, boys. The 2 DJR cars have just had to bank up. And HRT, Todd Kelly is out of the race. While they're having to put his car back in the garage, they've left it half in and half out just so they can be ready for the skate stop under the safety car.
Okay, mate, go. Bring your CPS line off.
I reckon Ingle missed a gear. And the other bloke that's going to cop it here is Jason Richards. He's had to do the extra lap. That's going to hurt him. That was the point that I was raising before about only having the single boom.
Frantic, absolutely frantic. Whincup comes out in front. So this goes back to our incident involving Todd Kelly, is it? Is that the one that... Yeah, that's where it all happened with the TKR car. And at the end of all that, so Shane Van Gisbergen has hit the wall. John Bowe's got nowhere to go. Todd Kelly gets squeezed in with Craig Lowndes. Kelly will now spin around, and JB has nowhere to go either, but straight into him.
Now it begins to make sense. I couldn't unravel that one in my mind. The car's going every which way, and it was bizarre. Watch Russell Ingall. I reckon. Oh, he got a tap, and then I reckon he might have missed a gear. Well, it might have even just been the tap, you know. And that was the reason why all of a sudden he lost momentum. So that's exiting turn 4.
And Shane Price getting a spin around 2 with Steve Owen just shooting on by.
Awkward spot there too out of the last corner. Now, I saw Lowndes get a bit of a whack in all that at the top of the circuit as well, so we need to keep an eye on what sort of damage he may have. He's down in 17th at the moment behind Jack Perkins in front of Steve Owen. And the lights are out on that WPS Chrysler safety car, so we'll go racing again in about 20 seconds. Oh, look at this. Sorry to talk over you there, Matty, but Stephen Richards down the inside. He actually got away with it.
Well, I was about to make the point that it still isn't settled yet.
He got the job done on Greg Murphy. Now, the big question mark here, I thought I saw contact involving Garth Tander exiting the pit lane, and we're going to try and have a look at that very shortly. And if there was contact, you'll almost certainly get a drive-through penalty, as Max Wilson is in trouble here with James Courtney. They're squeezed up on the wall in both directions heading to turn 4.
One of the big losers out of that was Todd Kelly. Todd, what do you make of it?
There's nothing I can do. I got into the corner and the track was completely blocked. Everybody hit the wall and came across, and I was hard on the brakes and just had nowhere to go, so you can't do much about it.
Substantial damage to the car too, heading towards Bahrain.
Yeah, I haven't had a look at it, but hopefully it's just superficial, and we can try a new set of doors on it.
You've put on a very brave face for me. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
And the question here also is the condition of Lowndes' car, because he was involved in that incident up at the top of the circuit between turns 8 and 9. And is he carrying any residual dramas as a result of that? He's down in 17th at the moment between Jack Perkins and Steve Owen. I raised the prospect earlier that Jason Richards may have been hurt by having to wait another lap for his stop, but I've got a feeling that the team cued him. Car 55 is getting a black flag and a drive-through penalty for a driving infringement, the one we saw before on the Jack Daniels car. Speaking of Jack Daniels' car, giving the rub, maybe a little rub on the wall. So Steve Owen, 18th at the moment, is going to be shown the black flag. And still no word from race control on the situation with Garth Tander.
So in the end, Tasman Motorsport, they'll like to say, have queued up Murph and Jason Richards as we take a look at Scaife going deep into turn 1.
Yeah, he got in strife, then he locked a brake and lost a spot, and he's under a bit of pressure there now. There's a bunch of people who you do not want to be out in that grey, low grip area on this racetrack at this time of day. It's pretty spooky there. Side by side, Scaife and Canto down to turn 3. Canto on the inside, but on the dirty side of the track. Will he survive that move? Oh, Courtney rubbing with Scaife between 3 and 4.
Courtney's been rubbing with a lot of people lately. This time it's with Scaife. There is not a lot of room out there. James Courtney now finds some panel rubbing onto the front right.
Whincup leads 0.3 of a second over Tander. Stephen Richards, the move on Greg Murphy at the restart. He's third, then Murphy, then Jason Richards, Russell Ingall, Jason Bargwanna, Cam McConville.
Well, we've been talking about how Russell Ingall has had the car that he hasn't had for quite some time. He said he's happier than ever. We may have just fixed the problem as to why he had lost some pace. His first set of tyres, what he didn't realise, had these score marks in them. 2 spots, 3 in fact, debris markers. In fact, there's a spot over here you can even hear leaking. You might not on that microphone, but it had 10 pound of pressure when he came in, so that's the reason why poor old Russell was struggling on that first set of tyres. The car is back to good.
Tasman Motorsport, major problem for Greg Murphy. That is, he has not stopped. In the confusion of the pit lane, he didn't see the pit board, he shot straight past.
Now it makes more sense, because I was thinking, how did those 2 cars, 51 and 3, stay together? Because at the moment they're showing 4th and 5th.
The timing monitor has showed us that he has pitted, but he clearly hasn't.
1:50.2 for Jamie Whincup. But the big question mark in my mind is this thing here. Watch Garth Tander leaving the lane. Car 16 has just been given a black flag for the unsafe release at pit lane, and he'll do the drive-through penalty that I was talking about. Here it is again in replay. And I was pretty sure I saw the contact, and now it's confirmed. Oh, and Whincup's off the road. Whincup's gone straight ahead down here at turn 3. It's all changing, folks. just as he done the fastest lap of the race, and Tander also gets the black flag.
And look at them all go
Get out there as
past.
quick as you can, mate. Tander has a drive-through. You got a quick car, mate, so let's get through the crowd.
Mark Dutton talking.
Drive-through penalty, mate. Contacted pit lane. We come to a spin, so we're going to get our heads down here. So pit now for the drive-through.
Both engineers counselling their drivers, leave Stephen Richards in control of the race. Here's what happened. Lock front right brake under pressure from Tander straight ahead at turn 3.
And at that stage, he wouldn't have known that Tander had been given a drive-through.
And you come round that corner with a little bit of right lock on before you then turn left for turn 3, and it unweights the 2 front tyres. It's the inside front, the right-hand side that's a little unweighted. So now Tander will serve a drive-through, and Whincup is buried at the back of the pack.
And Stephen Richards will take over the lead of the race. In he goes. Backs it off. 40 kilometres an hour. And the Pentax Flycam following a major moment in this race. Now released to the Champ Car pit lane.
Yeah, how excruciating.
Oh.
Guys, just had a quick chat to Mark Dutton, the engineer for Jamie Whincup's car. He said, yeah, simple mistake for Jamie. Just braked and the front brakes locked up, and that was his problem there. Interesting, a few moments ago too, when Todd Kelly came back into pit lane, Paul Morris, who had that altercation earlier, came running out of the garage, shaking his fist at Todd Kelly in pit lane. They've got a bit to chat about after the race.
Not as much animation down with the team boss, Rob Crawford, down at Toll HSV. I said, is that a fair cop? No words exchanged, just a slow, disappointing nod of the head.
Yeah, he knows it's happened before. They had it happen at Queensland Raceway with Rick Kelly. It's in the rule book. You can't release a car and make contact in the lane for the car that's transiting the fast lane there. And it's just one of those calls, and you heard how much pressure they're under in the pit lane at that time, which leaves now this man, Stephen Richards, in control of the race. What a recovery for Richo.
Qualified 5th. Didn't finish race 1. Took it back up to 5th in race 2, and now he finds himself in charge. Greg Murphy behind him.
Steve Owen's also going to get a mechanical black flag for loose bodywork, car 55. But Jason Richards done that fast split to the second sector, so he's got pace. His teammate's got to do the stop.
Mate, think about
Jason's got past.
Yeah, he's gone past Murph, and in actual fact, Russell is now monstering the back of Murph. And Jason Bargwanna's having a great run in 5th at the moment, the WPS entry. Dean Canto 6th, James Courtney, Mark Scaife, Stephen Johnson, Mark Winterbottom, huge recovery too, considering the wars that Mark's been in this weekend.
Pretty good push through the field from the Gelwen Motorsport car of Courtney from 15th up to 7th. Look at Ingle. He looks as though he's got Murphy's measure.
Incidentally, Jamie Whincup is now 18th, so not far away from a point-scoring position. And that's the vital message for 888 Team Vodafone here. They've got to get their man into a position to try and score points.
And up that back straight, Murphy pulls away.
Remember, Winterbottom was excluded from qualifying, went to the rear of the grid, and now in race 3 into the top 10. That's a very, very good recovery. And then there was that contact in race 1, turn 10 with Mark Scaife. And car 11, bad sportsmanship flag for consistently hitting the tyres. Jack Perkins been in trouble with the headmaster a couple of times today.
You mentioned Whincup back in 18th. He's just done the fastest first sector time. .48.9, that split to the end of the first sector for Jamie Whincup, the best of the race so far. G. Greig's car crossing up a lot and sliding the final corner there. Second split also fast for Jamie, a 22.18. Look at this. These things look like they've been bolted together all day. He's got him. Ingle gets round Murphy.
I think that amount of oversteer that I saw Greg having at turn 12 is pretty hard to overcome. It hurts your exit speed and therefore your terminal speed down the straight. It was enough, I imagine, for Russell to be able to get a run on him. Tander's 23rd, by the way, at the moment. Stephen Richards has a 0.9 of a second margin over his namesake, Jason Richards. Greg Murphy, Russell Ingle, Jason Bargwanna, James Courtney, Dean Cantor, Mark Scaife, Stephen Johnson and Mark Winterbottom. Just outside the 10, Cam McConville, Rick Kelly 12th, that's points. Craig Lowndes 13th, that's points. Looking further down to the championship contenders, Jamie Whincup 18th. No points there at the moment, nor for Garth Tander. Amazing. 2 wins from the first 2 races. Looked as though he may have been on target to make it a 3 from 3. And then that little glitch in the pit lane in a pressure moment was enough to trigger the drive-through penalty and basically put him out of business for this one. .1 seconds the margin now between the 2 Richards boys. Russell's been released a little bit from the back of Murph. Just confirming for our audience watching in New Zealand that one of your favourite sons, Greg Murphy, who's 4th on the road at the moment, has not done his compulsory stop yet. And we were puzzled over that early when the safety car came out and everybody used that as an opportunity to do their CPS, the compulsory pit stop. Both cars, 51 and 3, ended up coming out and being line astern on the scoring board. That seemed a bit weird because we know with only 1 pit boom down there, as we see the work being done here on the front of Jack Perkins' car, front right-hand corner, that that would be not a real possibility if Jason had to sit there and wait. It's all a bit ugly, the scarring down there, isn't lots of it.
Scratches and bruises all over both of the Jack Daniels cars.
Car number 50 is going to get the bad sportsmanship flag. Cam McConville for walloping the tyres at the apexes on the curbs. The list of drivers that got that bad sportsmanship flag in race number 2.
I don't know if we got enough time.
It looks like a roll call, and they all put their hands up and went present.
So the gap for Stephen Richards to Jason Richards was 1.1 second last time around. It's 1.7. Ingle 3rd.
Car 1's now going to get the bad sportsmanship flag. Car 1, Rick Kelly.
Just making a blanket of it.
It's not the answer. That's the reason. Bundle of dead tyres in the middle of a corner is not the answer. So while ever we use the wrong method, we'll get the wrong outcome.
Lap record to Garth Tander. He's in 21st position, but he's just done a 1:49.83.
That's fast. In fact, that's the new lap record of this racetrack for Garth Tander. Fastest ever for a V8 supercar. It's a great run by Bargs, isn't it, in the WPS car. He really seems to be able to find a way of matching the car to this racetrack, and he's done it year in and year out. Incidentally, Greg Murphy's crew have determined that they're going to run him all the way to the end of the CPS window.
Stephen Richards has the lead. Jason Richards is 2nd. Ingle is 3rd. Greg Murphy is 4th, but he still has to pit. So Bargwanna is 5th with a position there for the taking.
Great drive from Jason. WPS have really found a little bit of speed in the recent past with both their cars. Max Wilson's doing a handsome job too. He's 14th at the moment. And in general terms, these fellas have been rocking along pretty well. 50.9, the fastest lap time for Bargs. That particular lap was a 51.2. He's racing pretty quietly on his own there at the moment. Car number 3 is going to get the bad sportsmanship flag as well. Jason Richards for clipping the tyres. It's almost every driver in the field. It's a bit odd.
We've brought you the news that Tasman Motorsport Greg Murphy needs to stop, and if viewers are thinking, well, hang on, that's not right, I can't see CPS light on through the windscreen, the green LED light, it's because he flicked it off as a matter of course on the way into the pit and then missed the bay. They'll run him long, guys, at the end of the window. Expect him to come in then.
And while Russell Ingall is in 3rd position at the moment on points, he's currently leading the round. We saw you and showed you a little earlier on just how much that slow weeping tyre was affecting the car performance when I tried to interview the tyre. And now he does have the car underneath it and he needs to do the job. But you think that their eyes would be on him? Oh no, the team's eyes are on Garth Tander at 1 point behind, although you may think he's out of contention. The higher Garth climbs, the better chance he has of taking the round win off Russell Ingall.
That's right.
Yeah, Russell's on 49 points. Good observation. Hadn't looked at that one. Hadn't looked at the round points. And Tander's on 48. He's down in 20th. Point between them. But he needs to get to 15th or better. Jamie Whincup occupies 15th at the moment.
Turn the mains pump off, please. Mains off.
Still got a long way to go before this one's resolved. So it's a bit early to start calling the points for the round. Safety car boards are being shown, so there's something going on around the racetrack. You see out the side of the car here, you'll spot flags and the SC boards. At least I thought I saw one there before. Yes. So some issue around the racetrack at the moment is going to bunch this field back up again. That's not good news for Greg Murphy.
No, they were looking at the safety car option as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Neil, they're getting ready now to bring him in.
Yeah, and as the field compresses, depending on where they do all that, it may not be too good for him. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Apparently there's some debris on the racetrack at the moment. There's metal on the racetrack. I would think there's a fair bit of it all around it at the moment, after a few of these fellas have all headbutted each other, particularly up between turns 8 and 9.
Well, there was a fair bit of debris left behind after that incident that effectively, it did end Todd Kelly's day, and it was flapping around on the left-hand side. You can see some of it there. I don't think that's what they're looking at, but there was quite a bit there, and it kept getting flicked up as the cars went by.
I think the way this is going to work out, because these guys are basically still at racing speed, I think the safety car will grab them as they come onto the front straight, so this won't hurt Murph as much as I thought it was going to. He comes now.
Okay, mate. Watch your pit lane speed.
Going to bump the tyre pressures up a bit for him for the incoming rear tyres.
Way to go, mate. Way to go. Watch your pit lane speed. Sorry, boys. Just ruined their weekend. Mate, there's still 9 laps to go, and we got a fresh set of boots, and we're going to come out somewhere around 20, mate.
The sun getting lower, the shadows getting longer. Most of this part of the circuit will be in shade. The Esplanade up to Main Beach Parade. Stephen Richards yet to post a race win in 2007. He's been on the podium 3 times. Once in round 4. 3rd, of course, at Sandown. So a couple of podiums for Richo for this season. He's yet to win a race on this circuit. Over the course of the 10 years, 11 years now, he's been coming here. So this is the order under WPS Chrysler safety car conditions. Stephen and Jason Richards 1 and 2. Ingle 3rd. Bargwanna is 4th. James Courtney 5th. Dean Canto, Mark Scaife, Stephen Johnson, Mark Winterbottom and Rick Kelly make up our top 10. Garth Tander with 2 race wins is trying to get himself up into a points position. He is down in 18th at the moment as the safety car peels away. Stephen Richards has the race lead. We're green again.
This may give rise to the possibility of a couple of the championship contenders who are down and out of the points beyond position 15. Maybe a chance for a crack at trying to sneak up and get some points. Trouble here at the chicane, and one of the 888 cars tangling with a super cheap car back there.
That car with its lights on at the rear of the field is Greg Murphy, who's rejoined in 22nd position.
It was Craig Lowndes and Cam McConville that were headbutting. And they're asking their drivers at 888 to make sure McConville can go past, to make sure there's no question about it. They don't want to be black flagged in case there's any illegality in the move. So they've instructed both the cars, as I understood it then, to react.
There's Whincup.
I think he let him past, and indeed now Jamie's gone back by again. Oh, he's whacked the wall, Whincup. He whacked the wall on the exit, and car number 6, and Stephen Richards is going to get the bad sportsmanship flag now for clobbering the tyres.
Just confirming all of that readdressing and then repassing. Exactly how it happened. Neil Mark Dutton was being fed all the information from team boss Roland Day. Make it clear, make it concise, and let's not have the officials buy into it.
Well, Roland's been around long enough in international motorsport to know that it's one of those things that you don't want to be debating after the race, and it could be a championship killer. So if there's any question at all, instead of having to get down to measuring it to the last millimetre, just address it, sort it out, and then go racing again, and the boys have got it under control now anyway. So Phil Keed warning Stephen Richards, watch the tyres, don't touch them anymore. Here it is, what happened? Okay, so they just basically locked horns on the way to the chicane, and then ultimately Jamie was able to go back, but he did clobber the wall on the exit here. Right there, bang, left rear. And if you hit that hard enough, as we've seen a couple of times in the recent past, you can break that Watts link bolt in the rear suspension. That was a pretty big hit, that one. So if you're interested in the contenders that we've been talking up all weekend, well, Rick Kelly's now in the top 10. Craig Lowndes is 11th. Jamie Whincup, ironically, is 12th. And Garth Tander is down in 17th, still outside the points.
Can't show you any pics of it, Neil. As you know, they're pretty secretive things, but 888 run a pretty tricky rear end in the car, and it actually gives them a little cushioning from time to time. If the hit on the wall's not too bad, the new design may have saved him for that one.
Could have, because it was a pretty big whack. There's Lee Holdsworth.
There's Tander, and he's down in 17th at the moment, so he's still got a little bit of work to do, but he might grab some points out of all this, maybe. And Greg Murphy lamenting that he's hurt the team's result this weekend for the mistake in pit lane. Oh, what's this?
That's Bargwanna and Courtney up to turn 8. So Bargwanna locks it. Courtney was right on him.
Yeah, it looked like he might have been getting a little helping hand there, Bargwanna, and locking the front right corner for Jason's car, but they both managed to survive that one.
Stephen Richards does a 150.7.
Russell's got some pace here at the moment. Really sweating on the back of Jason Richards.
Now Garth Tander has made up 1 position over the course of that lap. He's behind Lee Holdsworth, who's in 15th, where the points for the race, of course, end.
the curious thing here is he's on 48 points for the weekend, and on 49 points at the moment, Russell Ingall, but Jamie Whincup's on 48. So if Tander can get another point here, as we made the reference early on, that makes it interesting in terms of the overall, depending on how this continues to unfold.
Doesn't matter if it's Murphy or Jason Richards, but Ingall has been having a go at the Tasman Motorsport cars all weekend. Lowndes trying to get past Rick Kelly, does so. That's down the main straight. That must have been after the control line, yes. So Lowndes goes up to 11th with that move.
Barry Hay, team boss. Barry Hay, the team boss at SBR, says Russell at the moment is like a dog with two tails. His eyes firmly placed on the surfboard to take the win.
He's done it before. One here in 97 and in 2003, the enforcer.
Oh, trouble here for Andrew Jones, currently 19th. This is also turn 8. He went off there in race 2. I think he's got away with it, but no, more damage for these fellas. They can ill afford that this weekend.
Here we go.
Team owner Brad Jones has just about had enough in the last couple of race meetings with the amount of damage to his cars.
Hope he's got a big checkbook.
Well, he might have started with one, he hasn't now.
It's the easiest way to rip one up, isn't it? Take a big one into this game. Situation normal for 1, 2, 3. Richards and Ingall. Bargwanna and Courtney have survived their tangle. Dean Canto 6th, Mark Scaife 7th. Stephen Johnson 8th. Whincup has moved up to 9th, so that puts him on 49 round points. But importantly, Garth Tander has moved up to 15th. That puts him on to 50 round points.
It gives him those couple of critical points. 2 points for getting into 15th position makes all the difference in Garth's world at the moment. Not that a round win is anything other than symbolism, but the points, or a couple of them in this case, could prove valuable later in the year.
How about Jason Bargwanna, well and truly punching right above his weight in the car that is the oldest car in the field. It's a 4-year-old car that's arguably seen better days, and Craig Gore, the team boss, who's at home at the moment nursing a burst in an eardrum, would be loving this. He's obviously won the surfboard before around here. The team says that Jason just loves to find that fine line between binning it and winning it, running the walls around here. He's won the surfboard before, but the bloke does live on a farm. He's been waiting for that 5 o'clock wave in his dam for a couple of years, and it's never come. It's more about the prestige.
Chuck it in the bathtub. Give it a whirl there. Has been a great run though, hasn't it? Coming off the back of a top 10er at Bathurst. Coming off
this
second position. Whincup goes on the inside of Scaife.
7th now. Whincup
gets another point.
Pretty good recovery. Of course, by grabbing Mark Scaife there and moving up that extra spot, that gives him extra points, and the point on that issue is that he jumps back up into the round lead. That's going to keep on seesawing until we get to the end of this. That could be a long tail.
Is that the point?
That's the point. Oh, yeah, I can start to tangle myself up
What are you
there.
trying to make? Here he goes again. This time it's Canto.
Some brake performance in that car, or grip or ride or combination of all of the above, but it's really working well.
So rodeoed it through the exit of turn 8. carried so much speed in after overtaking Dean Canto. So Jamie Whincup started this lap in 8th. He'll end it in 6th.
4 to go, Jamie, 4 to go. Doing a fantastic job, mate. Caution with Courtney, he's a bit loose.
0.7 of a second is the difference between first and second. Between Stephen Richards and Jason Richards. Russell Ingall 3rd, Bargwanna is 4th. Courtney 5th. As I mentioned, Whincup now 6th.
Just warned car 88. We're going to show him the bad sportsmanship flag for consistently hitting the apex tyres. So Jamie's going to have to be careful from this point. Both Courtney and Jason Bargwanna running a little defensively into 3. So Whincup tried to use the entry space and crisscross. That didn't work. He's going to be a bit careful there because Dean Canto will have a piece of that action if he leaves the hole.
Mate. Nice and smooth. You are currently P1 for the weekend.
That's right. That puts him to 52 points. Garth Tander down in 15th. He's overall on 50 points.
Notice that Triple Eight, they make sure the drivers are very well informed. So the message, the subtext of that is don't do anything silly.
Whack goes the barriers again, and Scape's got dramas.
Tail shaft or gearbox, it's got a bit of a shake in it. It's smoking. He may have to pull it over. What a shocker of a weekend.
It's going okay until there. Well, it's starting to come back anyway.
Well, he was 8th across the line on the last lap. And when you consider where he started from this weekend, it wasn't a bad performance. Oh, look at that. The run up to the turn 7 chicane, and it's all gone pear-shaped there for Mark Scape.
They think it's the gearbox, Neil. They think it's the gearbox, and it's just shattered. They think that's what Rob Starr has just told me now.
So we're on lap 25 of 27. It's been a typical Gold Coast weekend. Lots and lots of damage. Good flat-out racing. It's not done with yet. Bargwanna, Courtney, Whincup. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Bargwanna's the big loser out of it. He had to control it really, really tough.
This is going to be bad.
Still going, and Whincup spins, gets hit by Canto.
It's all bad from about 10 seconds ago. You can smell that coming.
As quick as you can.
Roland Dane's not going to be thrilled watching these pictures.
Pit switch, mate.
That's Mark Dutton, the man who you hear talking to Jamie, and that's Roland Dane, team principal at Team Vodafone.
The minute I saw Jamie that far to the left on the braking approach to turn 3, it's filthy side of the racetrack, and he's trying to make an opportunity, of course.
So it starts here at turn 3. Everybody's a little bit loose by now. A shove into turn 4, a spin. Yet again, Craig Lowndes has managed to escape all the disaster zone. So it's all over the shop by here.
So, Dean Canto it was, I think, that actually made the contact with Jamie in the end.
Well, Canto also made contact with the Jim Beam car of Steve Johnson as well.
And Steve Johnson's car's got a broken Watts link in the rear suspension, so they'll have to bring the Jim Beam car in.
Oh, thought he had the move. Then saw it all fall apart. Asked the question on the way into turn 3, who'd be the winners and who'd be the losers. There were more losers than winners out of that.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate sequence.
How's the car, mate? Is it running all right?
No, Mark, we're all over, mate. Coming idling into pits. And it's done.
Gee, that's going to hurt.
Well, the pressure right on for Jason Bargwanna now, who was just a start just a couple of minutes ago, involved in that tangle, now has a deflating tyre. So you're seeing it really graphically starting to move around on its tyres and tarmac at the moment. He's struggling.
The bloke behind him, car 16, Garth Tander is now in control of the round points.
He's going to make a move here on Bargwanna. Got him.
So with Whincup out of the picture.
You wouldn't believe that it'd play back so well for Garth Tander in this race 3 scenario, would you? Wow. Look at all this chaos.
So Dean Canto got all sorts of mess, and now his front guard gets collected on the way through by Rick Kelly. It's hanging all over the place.
That's what you call loose body work.
Yeah. And look at poor old Stephen Johnson just limping up the left-hand side of the track. He was caught with nowhere to go, got squeezed, the Watts link gone.
I think Rick Kelly's favoured quite well out of all this as well, because he's up to 7th now. Craig Lowndes is 8th. This is all the last time through. Just need to make sure that this all makes sense after they cross the control line.
I'll tell you the order. Stephen Richards has gone past. Jason Richards 1.7 seconds behind. Ingle 3rd. Courtney 4th. 5th belongs to Mark Winterbottom. Kelly is now up into 6th. Craig Lowndes in 7th. McConville 8th. Tander in 9th. Jason Bargwanna back to 10th. And for the overall round scenario, Garth Tander on 57 points. Russell Ingall on 49. Jason Richards and Jamie Whincup on 40. But something else to think about. Stephen Richards is going to win his first race of 2007.
Yes, and the likelihood of anything changing for Jason in second, and of course we know what's happened to Jamie Whincup, is that not much is going to occur there, so they'll stay on 40 points, but that'll mean Jason is the higher placed driver in race 3, so he'll prevail in that little stoush, and that'll give him theoretically overall 3rd, but it isn't done yet.
It's never done yet. The wow entry of Max Wilson carrying a bit of damage as well. He leads this train involving Will Davison, Bargwanna, Murphy.
I don't know that it would be possible for it to be a tougher sequence of events than a 1,000k race at Bathurst. This track, which always produces damage, and then an overseas race in 2 weeks.
Talk about fighting back. FPR have done it throughout Stephen Richards. His first win of the season and first here on the streets of Surfers Paradise.
3 points difference to third, mate.
Jason Richards 2nd, Russell Ingall 3rd. It's been a terrific weekend for the Enforcer. And the overall round victory is about to come into view. It will go to Garth Tander yet again.
Matty, one of the big losers out of that was Jamie Whincup. Jamie, you're on such a charge.
Yeah, I've only got myself to blame. I blocked a wheel while leading down into turn 3, and I got back in the pack, and I was doing my best to come back through and get some points, but got involved in an incident which, as I say, I shouldn't have been back there.
Championship?
Who knows? I don't know. I haven't had a look, but it's certainly no good DNFing, that's for sure. So very disappointing. We were on for a good weekend, but I guess you say that's motorsport.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Certainly is. It's been like that for all categories. That's what this circuit does. It leaves behind a trail of disaster, but it always provides terrific racing. Congratulations to Stephen Richards. FPR have done it tough, but they've come back here.